Good Friday morning. I'm Matt Carothers, and welcome to another installment of everyone's favorite 30-minute horse racing program. It is time to kick off your weekend. It's time for Blinkers Off, and we're all over Dubai World Cup Day, Saturday at Meydan Racecourse. Coverage begins here at TVG, 6 o'clock Pacific Time, AM 9 o'clock Eastern Time. $27.5 million in purses, 8 giant races, obviously concluding with the richest race in the world, the $10 million Dubai World Cup. A very special guest in the middle part of the show. But we have a very special guest to start the show as well. Always appreciate him coming on this program. He's the one and only, my friend, my colleague, Simon Bray, from his palatial home somewhere south of here. And Simon, you can't get the the real shot of it from here. Oh, now we can. But if you picked your arms up a little bit, you're kind of wearing the tight black T-shirt today. You're looking pretty buff, by the way. Well done. Well done. Yeah, there you go. Look at those guns. Nice. Wow. Jeez. Wow. You could be wider than me, though. I'm not sure. You might be wider than myself.
I think I might possibly be, but a lot of it's come from arm lifting this coffee cup.
Oh, that is enormous. Well, how about this? How about double-fisted, huh? Top that. Top that. All right, let's get right to it. Oh, and by the way, Simon, you're probably aware of this. You know, someone like myself that wants to play the World Cup card, but I live here on the West Coast and I don't feel like getting up at 4 in the morning, you can wager now. You can go to TVG.com and bet all these races. So I plan on doing that this evening, getting my bets out of the way this evening so I can concentrate on all this great activity that you're going to be a big part of tomorrow morning here in the States. I guess it's supposed to be warm. Well, that's not a surprise there, but very, very windy from what I'm hearing. So, Todd, if you're listening, I know you handicap for wind. You might want to keep that in mind. And here's the list of races, and we will begin with the last race, and that is the $10 million Dubai World Cup at 10 furlongs over the Tapeta surface at Meydan. Field of 14 going in this race. And I guess, we should begin with Bob Baffert because it's been such a an emotional week for him. Rushed to the hospital, minor heart attack stints put in. From what I'm hearing, I think he's going to be at the racetrack Saturday. He's doing well. He's in good health. He's in good spirits. And he didn't draw the 14. He was given it because the last draw went to Baffert and Game On Dude, and they were forced to go 14. He won this race with Silver Charm in '98. He won this race in 2001 with Captain Steve. What do you think his chances are of winning it a third time?
Well, the problem for me, Matt, is the surface, and that's what Bob Baffert's been saying all week long. I'm not convinced this horse is as good on synthetic as he is conventional.
I agree.
In fact, Baffert said from his hospital bed earlier this week that if this race was on conventional dirt, he would come in here with a ton more confidence than he has this year. That said, with the advent of social media, it's so much easier to get information out of Dubai. Going back to what you referenced at the top of the show, the weather, many people are thinking the track's going to be very speed favoring tomorrow night in Dubai. When the sun goes down, 82 degrees is going to be the high during the day. The sun will go down, the track will speed up. And that will be one thing in his favor. A typically European run style race. Remember Gio Ponti last year, how close he was to the pace. That's what's going to happen this year. That's going to give Game On Dude a huge advantage where he wants to be up on the front end. But I still have some question marks about him handling the surface. And when we look back in his past performances, there's some good horses he's facing. But let's be honest, Matt, the American handicap division is not that strong right now. In fact, the fillies are at the top of that division right now.
No, I think he's a really, really good racehorse at Santa Anita. Obviously, he ran well at Churchill as well. But I agree with your, saying that you think that Game On Dude is better on dirt than synthetic. We could talk about this race alone for 30 minutes, but we got to skedaddle because we have so much to do. Before we get to a runner we both like, real quickly, Smart Falcon, the Japanese racing extremely well. This horse has won 9 in a row. He's won 9 straight. He's 23 for 33. If he wins this race, he becomes the all-time richest horse. How good is Smart Falcon? What about the company he's been beating up on?
Well, it's the same question mark as with the Game On Dude. The synthetic surface could be an issue for him. He's been beating up on mediocre company, but at least in one start, 3 back, he beat a horse called Transcend. We know how good he is.
Second in the World Cup last year.
Exactly, and he's one of the best dirt horses that Japan has seen in the last 10 years. Smart Falcon, I would give an outside chance, but again, question marks with the surface. He's never stepped foot on a synthetic racetrack in the afternoon.
It was sort of bizarre. About an hour and a half ago when I gave my selections for World Cup data producer Danielle Taylor, I was guessing your selections as well without looking. I was covering my eyes. Simon likes. I was 3 for 3 to start out, which is pretty impressive considering each race is a field of 14, 15, and 16. I knew we were going here. This was the easy one, and we're together. We like Royal Delta in this race. And at first I was like, she's crushed by Awesome Maria in her first start since this huge performance in the Breeders' Cup Ladies Classic. And then I started thinking, this isn't the strongest of World Cups. They've been pointing. Is there anybody better, you know as well as anybody, is there anybody better at pointing a horse for a big race when they have had ample time to do so than Bill Mott? Because they've been pointing her for this race ever since she crossed the finish line first in the Ladies Classic November 4th of last year.
That's exactly right, and it was Bill Mott's idea. Very rarely, usually it's the owner that has the idea, and then you go along with it. Bill Mott came up with this idea before he even knew he was going to get Royal Delta back in his barn. This filly was sold for $8 million. He went and visited Benjamin Leon, the owner, down at Ocala before he knew he was getting this horse back, and he said, "Mr. Leon, this is the plan. I'm going to run this horse one time at Gulfstream, probably in the Sabin handicap, and then point for the Dubai World Cup. This filly will get beat in the Sabin," she said. In fact, just before she ran, Bill Mott said he could have predicted the outcome.
Yeah,
that
right.
She would be,
yeah.
finish second, beaten at 8 lengths. And the two things going for him, Matt, he's always said, even when I worked for him, the things you've got to find out about horses are, one, the surface they like. Back in the day, it was either dirt or grass. And two, the distance. And then place them accordingly to where they can fit in. Royal Delta handles the 1.25 mile. She handles the synthetic surface. Now it's just, is she good enough? And by all reports, through Twitter, social media, she has been climbing out of her skin over there. Yeah,
they're the first pick in the draw. They chose post 7. You wanted a nice stalking trip, not too wide, not mired down on the inside. And Bill Mott, who won the inaugural World Cup in 1996 with Cigar, trying to win with the first filly to win the Dubai World Cup, Royal Delta. We both like her in this spot. Awesome Maria, by the way, just beat her, runs in the Rampart tomorrow at Gulfstream Park. The Shima Classic, race number 8 on the card. Turf course should be firm. 1.5 miles the distance in this race. And I think we should start with, isn't Ceres de Eagles, the 8, isn't he the one to beat in this race, even though he's not your morning line favorite?
Absolutely no question. He's a horse that's in Europe that nobody really gave a lot of credit to for quite a long time. And all he kept doing was running well and winning in big races, including the Champion Stakes last year at Ascot. You remember the controversy surrounding this race. It was when the whip ban came in place. Christophe Soumien got suspended. They reversed the decision. Bottom line, Ceres des Aigles, so you think here, Snow Fairy, who was labeled Queen of the Orient last year with her 2 impressive victories in Asia, at Japan and Hong Kong. Ceres des Aigles is one of those horses that, because they don't come from a big flashy barn and have big flashy connections, they don't get the credit they deserve.
All right, so this is your selection in this race.
Absolutely. I think this horse is just, I think the 1 1/8 trip here, the 1.5 mile distances shouldn't be a problem here. I know winning the Queen, the Champion Stakes 1.25 miles, the 1.5 mile is not going to be an issue. And I think Ceres des Aigles is just the best horse in the race, period. Yeah,
I think he's the horse to beat. I think the bet might be Cavalryman. The 5, the horse has been a good horse for a long time. 3rd in the Arc back in 2009 when this horse was a 3-year-old. I think he kind of woke up a little bit in the 10th of March. It was his first start in 4.5 months. It was a field of 16. He finished, right there with Campanologist at the end of that race. Classy horse, back in good form. I think it might be the price horse in this race. I'll go with Cavalryman to win the $5 million Shima Classic presented by Long Island. Race number 7 on the program, Dubai Duty Free, sponsored by Dubai Duty Free. And this is a race in which, wow, it really difficult, I thought, at 9 furlongs on the turf. And, the figures from the horses coming over from Hong Kong kind of tower. And from a time form rating standpoint over the rest of this field, Simon. Ambitious Dragon, 4-1 morning line favorite. Back-to-back wins, beating a couple others that are in this race, including Extension there, the 9 at 20-1. Those numbers kind of jump out at you, don't they? Those back-to-back 125s?
They certainly do, and those races not to be sniffed at. The race that Ambitious Dragon won, the Hong Kong Gold Cup, it's a pretty good race. You got the top 3 finishes coming out of there. But historically, the last 4 years, horses that have been based in Dubai throughout the winter have won the Dubai Duty Free. I think the edge goes to the horses that are based there locally throughout the winter. So look to the 5, Musir. 10-1, I think, is a great price. We all know about Mike DeCark and how his exploits through the Dubai Carnival. I think Musir, absolutely the one to beat. Ran against African Story last time out. I'm going to be talking about African Story as we go through this card later on, who I think is one of the best bets on the night. So a 3rd place finish behind what I think is one of the best bets on the night. Musir, the horse to beat for me.
Yeah, and I almost went there. I mean, I'm definitely going to use Musir in any sort of exotic wagers that I'm making. I was on the. I loved his win over City Style. Came back to win, and then came back to run a very good second in his start after that. So almost went with Musir. You know, I ended up going with Green Destiny on the inside. The price is going to be really good here. I thought that last start, Simon, a mile and a quarter over the Tapeta surface at Meydan. This horse is much better on turf, where he's 6 for 9 in his career. Not embarrassed by Ceres de Eagles, who you know, is the horse to beat, in your opinion, in the Shima Classic $5 million race. Huge win 4 back in a Group 3 at York. I'll go Green Destiny at a better price. Musir, I think, is the other horse. And Pressvis, who won this race a year ago, just not in particularly good form right now. So I don't think we're going to have a repeat winner in the Dubai Duty Free. Golden Shaheen, sponsored by Gulf News, $2 million event in this race. And, you know, Bob Baffert was second in this race last year with Euro Ears and was second to Rocket Man, who won this race, Simon. Baffert quoted saying, "We brought a bigger boat this year with the Factor." Compare it, saying the Factor, you know, a little bit tougher company for Rocket Man than Euro Ears, who was second in this race last year. And I'm guessing you probably agree with that.
I agree with that, yes, but I don't think the Factor. I'm going to go with a crazy argument here. I've been saying this all week long. Kind of Todd Schrock and I went
love
back
crazy, Simon. You know that.
about this all
That's
week.
my middle name.
I think he came to my side of the fence. My argument, I think, is the Factor is a much better 7 furlong horse than a 6 furlong horse. He's undefeated at 7 furlongs, and the argument behind that is that I think Factor is a horse who clearly needs the lead. He's a need-the-lead type. When he gets engaged, similar to Baffert's Sensational a couple years ago, I think he gets a little weak in the ticker, a little weak in the heart, and he backs up. I think the Factor better at 7 furlongs. That said, this is a European-style 6 furlong race. There's not going to be that American speed, but I'm going to play against the Factor. I don't think he's going to be effective at 6 furlongs here.
Let me get this straight. You persuaded Todd to change his opinion. Did you just say that right now? You swayed Todd. You made an argument, a counter argument to his argument, and he agreed with your argument and changed his position based on what you told him, what your thoughts on the Factor were.
I think I'm the only person in the last.
Wow. That is well done. That is well done. Congrats on that. Rocket Man, you think is going to repeat?
Yes, I think he's going to repeat. He's a very good horse. His last start at Kranji in Singapore. I mean, this is a horse that's well traveled. Don't be upset that he goes to Hong Kong, Japan, Kranji in Singapore. This is what he does. He's the defending champ. I like that he's drawn down to the inside, picks up a new rider and a very good South African veteran, Joaquin Felix Coetzee. I think he repeats. I just think he's the horse to beat in here. Of the Americans, if we're going to talk Factor and Giant Ryan, I give the edge to Giant Ryan. I think he's going to finish in front of the Factor. Okay. Well,
again, so some of these races I look at, it's just like it's so confusing for me. It's not a lot for me to, you know, it's not like handicapping, a race at Aqueduct.
Sure.
So I went with Sepoy, and obviously this horse is extremely talented. And I remember reading a couple months ago that the connections of Black Caviar, everyone was saying that Sepoy would have given Black Caviar a run for her money. That was enough for me. And this horse, he needed his last start on the 25th of February. He hadn't raced in 4 months. My man John in research telling me that he gave that field between 3 and 13 pounds in terms of weight and carried 128. I will go with Sepoy to win the Dubai Golden Shaheen as we move on to the Quoz Sprint. And 8 of the 16 in here are coming out of the Meydan Sprint, including Regalry Ready, who ran worst of the 8 coming out of that race, finishing 13th. This horse has only beaten 2 horses in his last 2 races. Something's wrong with Regalry Ready. 6-1 morning line. I'm against him. What about you?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the argument. I'm against him, but if you're in his camp, this is the reason why he ran so poorly last time. He's always a horse, according to Steve Asmussen and assistant Scott Blasi, that needs a trip over the track. He's always better second time over a surface.
Okay.
That was the reason they sent him out there early, and they didn't ship him with the rest of the American horses. Secondly, Blasi said earlier this week, he's a very, very quirky horse, strange individual. They're happy that he's reunited with Corey Nakatani. So if you're a Regally Ready guy, that's the positives. I just don't think he's quite good enough against some of these in here.
All right, where are you going?
I'm going with the 8 August Rush. I think this is a horse that could improve off that 10th of March race in the local prep, the Mahal Ab Shamal finishing 3rd behind Krypton Factor, who's going to be in the Golden Shaheen. This horse lost a shoe out of the gate, finishing 3rd, checking in 3 lengths behind the winner that day. That was an excuse that was good enough for me. I think he moves up, And the fact that this horse did throw a shoe, that's a significant piece of information, I think, that Herman Brown told the press earlier this week. So if all 4 shoes stay on August Rush, look much better, much faster performance on Saturday night.
I mean, for me, I have to use sort of my basic handicapping when I look at these races. I can't get fancy and creative. I just look at Addictive Dream, the 2 back-to-back wins. 10th of March, first start in a couple of months. We needed that race a little bit. That was on the DePita surface, back on turf. I mean, beat Nocturnal Affair. 3 starts back. Nocturnal Affair was only a half length back in the Maidan Sprint. So I'll go with Addictive Dream, who's 20-1 morning line, who's beaten common opponents in this race at shorter prices. We need to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll finish our handicapping Dubai World Cup Day at Dubai, and a very special guest as well, right around the corner to help us out. Huge weekend for Derby preps. This is Blinkers Off, by the way. Florida Derby Saturday, $1 million Gulfstream. We'll talk about the UAE Derby, $2 million. Mile and 3/16 at Maidan, World Cup Day, and the Grade 1 Louisiana Derby, $1 million at the fairgrounds in New Orleans on Sunday. As promised, very special guest, Stephen Molyneux, now joining us, Timeform Dubai analyst. Stephen, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
Good, good. I know you lived in Dubai for a long time, but now you've been away. This is your first time back in a decade, I've been told. Is that true?
That's correct. I was here for the World Cups of Captain Steve and Dubai Millennium. Rather foolishly opted to leave and go back to England, and this is my first visit back. And it's amazing how the place has changed, obviously. I believe, the locals here, they say it changes week by week, but to see the difference in 10 years, it's quite amazing. And obviously the new track as well, which is, it almost defies belief, really.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure you're enjoying yourself there, reacquainting yourself with the old friends and such. Let's talk about some of these races in particular. I think we should begin with the big one, the $10 million Dubai World Cup. Your thoughts on this race? Who's going to be your favorite, and who do you like?
Well, we've got So You Think as Timeform top rated, and he's £4 clear. I think he's the class horse in the race. He's favourite with the British punters. He's around 9-4, which, to my eyes, it's quite short for a race that any of them could win it, really. There's very little between all 14 of them. Tactics are going to play a part. The draw has been well spoken about. But So You Think, he's a favourite of ours in Europe. He's won, I think, about 8 Grade 1s or Group 1s throughout his career.
Yes.
And last year he did nothing but progress, really, again. And it's interesting that Aidan O'Brien thinks that with an Irish winter under his belt, he might even strengthen up again this year. Yeah,
8 Group 1 wins, 7 at the mile and a quarter distance. Simon was talking earlier about how it's going to be very warm there and very windy, and the track could be speed favoring. Do you agree with that? Do you think you should look for horses to be forwardly placed maybe over the surface tomorrow?
Yeah, it's the way it's gone for the majority of the carnival over the past 2 or 3 months, is that you don't want to be too far behind. It's not really a track that favours horses who quicken. It's more, they race 2 or 3 furlongs out, they make their move, and they sort of grind it out from that point onwards. And I think So You Think fits into that bracket perfectly. Last year, I think they were arguably guilty of sending him for home a bit too soon on occasion. That's why I think he'll be suited by the Tapita surface. It is quite demanding. It gets quite sticky when the heat kicks in, and it's been very warm here at the moment, and the wind as well will just dry out even further.
Stephen, this is Simon here. Just real quick, while we're talking about So You Think, I know Aidan's got some other runners on the night. What do you make of his horses coming in without a prep race? They've had that so-called Irish winter that they've thrived in. A lot of these horses have had preps locally. Is that a disadvantage, or Aidan can probably get them ready off the layoff anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think expert at travelling his horses now. He's not actually had that many runners in Dubai over the years, but the few he did have last year, they all ran really well. I think Master of Hounds finished second in the UAE Derby. Kate Blanco wasn't beaten far at all in the World Cup itself. And I think turning up 3 or 4 days, the shock factor, they're all, they're fit and ready to go. It's actually been very warm in Britain at the moment anyway, so although humidity will be a bit different in Dubai, I don't really see it as being much of an issue.
All right, Stephen, this is obviously the biggest day of racing in the world, but our biggest day of racing in the state is still the Kentucky Derby, and the UAE Derby is obviously a prep for that $2 million event. What are your thoughts on the mile and 3/16 event, which is carded as race number 4 on the program? Lucky Chappie from the inside. Alan Garcia, Graham Motion, lost by a nose to Daddy Knows Best, who came back and looked very good winning the Sunland Park Derby, earned 100 buyer last Sunday at Sunland Park. Any thoughts on this race? And you give Lucky Chappie a shot?
Yeah, he's not too far behind. We've got Helmet top and Lucky Chappie's about £7 behind. But obviously, still relatively early days of the career of Lucky Chappie, and advanced his time form rating with Eton, you could argue as well, unexposed over this sort of trip. So I think it's a really competitive race this year. Dubai Carnival, for the classic generation of horses, it tends to be fairly weak as a rule. But the turn of the UAE Derby has brought together top-class horses. Aidan O'Brien, of course, got Rote, and Daddy Longlegs, who were both seen in America. In the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, of course, and was mightily impressive in doing so. Can he transfer that to the different surface? Helmet, America, a top-class horse. He would be well on time for ratings if we had proper figure on. We've got 117 plus on. He's actually run to a figure of 127 previously. And the reason for dropping his rating slightly is, well, one, the different surface. Two, I'm not totally convinced about the trip. He's done a lot of racing over 7 furlongs. He's won stuff over 10 furlongs, did come against older horses. He was quite keen and we didn't get home for my money. So it's a lot more compressed than it could be. Certainly, again, with most of these races, it's very dangerous to rule any of them out.
Yeah, before I let you go here, your best bet in the card is Western Aristocrat, right? In the Godolphin Mile, race 2?
Yeah, he's about 7 or 8 to 1 over in Britain. The horse that the Americans will know reasonably well. He made his 2 starts as a 3-year-old at Belton and Hollywood. He won at the former and was arguably a bit unfortunate not to go closer after went 3rd behind the Ultimate Eagle. We've got a strong fact in this with African Story by Godolphin. You know, his figure on time for race comes from last time. Relatively weak Group 2, I feel. I just thought an Aristocrat was an upwardly mobile horse. Jeremy Nacida, a past master at travelling his horses. He doesn't travel too many of them. And when they do go abroad, they're often very close to the mark. So, yeah, Western Aristocrat is that for me.
All right, Stephen. I know we interrupted your drinking of some tea. As producer Danielle told me. So we'll let you get back to that. Enjoy yourself, and good luck with your selections. And I'm sure you'll have a great time at Meydan Racecourse enjoying Dubai World Cup Day on Saturday. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Stephen Molyneux, time form Dubai analyst. Appreciate him coming on. Self and Simon Bray, we're still here. Did you have a pick in the? I know we're looking at Dubai World Cup, Dubai Gold Cup right now. In the UAE Derby, did you have a pick, Simon? Just real fast.
Yeah, I did. I'm going to play against Rote, the Irish horse. We had a chance to look back on the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Don't think it's a strong event. I'm going to go with the 6 Mickdam real quick in that race. And take a look at the 11, Intifada as well. That's going to be an emotional win for Richard Hills, the jockey retiring after many years as a stable rider to shake Hamdan.
We both like Mickdam in race 4, UAE Derby. This is race 3 we're looking at right now. And yeah, Fox Hunt deserves to be the pretty heavy favorite based on back-to-back dominant wins, right?
He does. I'm going to go with Opinion Poll, who was just behind him last time. Why? Because Fox Hunt was ridden by Dettori. Dettori elects to go to the 10 Opinion Poll. That's just basic jockey handicapping. You can do that in a situation like Frankie with Godolphin. Yeah,
I'm going to go with Barbican in that race. Won 3 of his last 4. His defeat was to Beaten Up, who's in the Shima Classic and earned a 123 time form rating in beating him in that race. So I'll go with the price horse. 1 left, the Godolphin Mile. I think we agree with Stephen, don't we? In this race? Oh, we don't? Oh, it's just me. I agree with Stephen.
Well, I agree with him. In fact, that my best bet of the card is in here. His best bet of the card. I'm going to go with, unfortunately, the favorite, although it's a lukewarm choice, at 7-2. Frankie Dettori, at the press breakfast of the Stars earlier this week, was asked, who's your best chance? An absolute certainty, he said, the 4 African Story is my best chance of winning the Godolphin Mile this weekend.
I'm going to go with the Western Aristocrat. We all know how good on the West Coast Ultimate Eagle has become. I mean, he's an absolute freak. I know he didn't run very well in the big cap, but the pace was just scalding high. I like Western Aristocrat. He's faced some pretty good horses. He beat some decent horses in the Grade 1 Jamaica as well. So I'll go with Western Aristocrat, and I'll go with my man Stephen Molyneux in that race. Less than a minute in the program. We'll give you one more a list of all the races. $27.5 million in purses. And here are our selections. Royal Delta. Yeah, I was 3 for 3 with you, Simon, to begin.
Were you?
Yeah, Musir. That was a good one that I picked. I almost went Musir as well. You know, I like your picks. I mean, this first page, I could have easily gone those 4. And August Rush. I like kind of an aggressive pick there with like McNam, Opinion Poll, African Story. So well done. You've already done your work for tomorrow.
What was that?
You've already done your work for tomorrow.
I know, I'm done. It's great. I'm going to do a radio interview with Joe Withey up at Emerald on these races in about an hour.
Yeah.
And I'll see you in about 45 minutes in the studio.
Simon and Todd tomorrow, World Cup coverage, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. This show every Friday, 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific. We'll do it next time, April 6th, Keeneland opening day.